It's like always coming back to the reason why you care,
Mhm.
and knowing that that impact is so much greater than you also helps you take yourself out of it a little bit and detach a little bit from the results. So, you know, put in the effort. Doesn't matter if it looks messy right now, because actually the mess is like, that's what has to happen for creative juices to flow, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today, I have an amazing person who runs emotional intelligence for kids, Susanna Nicol, an emotional intelligence coach and founder of EQ for Kids. Hi, Susanna. It's so glad to have you in the show.
Hi, Juan. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm happy to have this opportunity to reflect a little bit. So thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm also excited after reading through your questionnaire around what you will have to share to the listener today. I'm sure many people will be excited to learn around, people are getting more aware around emotion, things that going on, mental health awareness that happening in the society right now. And the part that you are doing, you are actually educate the new generation since they are. It is the part that I know that it was missing most of my life when I was
Yeah.
younger. And yeah, so I'm so excited to get to know you more as a person, get to know you more around your beautiful skill to run the business is something that I'm looking forward to learn from you as well. So perhaps if you could start on maybe introduce yourself a little bit on who you are, where you are at right now, where you are from, and what bring you to start becoming emotional intelligent coach for kids.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Susanna. I think you already introduced me. I started this wonderful mission to support young kids and their parents. I started about 6 years ago. I've been in Bangkok for almost
Mm.
7. So, from the US, I studied, well, I actually was born and raised in Nigeria, West Africa. So I have a very unique upbringing as well. And then moved to the US. And I've always been really passionate about child development and psychology. And so I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher, right? I'm going to be a teacher. That seems to be the right way to go. And I studied early childhood education. I did teach for about 6 to 7 years in different contexts, different countries. And, I just saw that there's this big gap in knowledge and education that's missing, which is, how to get to know yourself, how to know how to express how you feel to others and communicate clearly, how to move through challenges in life. And these emotional and social skills, they really do start early on in life.
Mm.
And really they start in the home. And so I realized that I was just kind of adjacent to my path, but it wasn't my path. I knew it. I knew it the whole time that I was a teacher, because these skills are really life skills that set kids up for a successful life in all the ways that success means, right? Healthy relationships, leadership skills, navigating the hardship that comes along with being human. So I knew that I wanted to shift gears away from the education world and more towards private one on one coaching and really focusing on that parent child connection in the early years.
Yeah, there is so much that I'm taking the note to ask you more right now. And the part that I want to start first is your life as you are growing up in Nigeria. That's something that I just get to know from you today. That
You
was
didn't know.
amazing. And yeah, I didn't know. So how long have you lived in Nigeria for? Were you, not have you, that's the grammar, right? So how long were you live in Nigeria for? How do you feel that it's influenced you to be who you are today?
Oh my goodness, so many ways. I think growing up, being the odd one out, being the person who looks different than everyone around you, acts different. I grew up in a very small village, like no running water, no electricity, like very everybody lived in mud huts and didn't really wear clothes. So it was a really perfect ground to understand what matters in life. Honestly, I learned so many life lessons there because people were so kind and they had nothing, but they were some of the happiest people that I've ever met in my life. They were all about community. They were all about relationships. Even the kids, they knew that sharing was more important. Like if you give them, like a hard piece of candy, they would immediately go and smash it and share it with all of their friends, the tiny little pieces. And that just
Wow.
shows you a lot about, I'm so thankful that I got to be brought up around these people who know the value of kindness. They've got their priorities straight. They really had nothing, but they were so rich in terms of their connections, their love, their kindness and happiness. It was beautiful. And so it impacted me a lot. Obviously, I had the freedom to play as a child. I was in the dirt. I was climbing trees. I had an obsession with bugs, and I'm so thankful for that childhood. And I also know what it's like to feel different and be the odd one out. So I think those are some of the main lessons that I learned growing up abroad. Yeah, my parents were missionaries there and they were translating the Bible into this village's language. So they didn't have a written language before. And my father's a linguist. So he actually came up with the written language for this small village in Nigeria. I'm so thankful. Yeah, it was really unique upbringing.
How long were you there?
I was there until I was around 9 or 10 years old, and I was actually born there. Yeah, yeah. And then, moving to small town Ohio, I also understand what it's like to have a culture shock, and have to adjust. And so all of these childhood experiences really did shape who I am. I'm now very adaptable. I know how to get along in different contexts and change direction. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that kind of moving around and being in different contexts and learning how different people live.
So I also want to fast forward into, you mentioned that, in your heart that teacher is the career that you always aspire to be. And then you shift into focusing more on emotional for kids. So what ignite that change from being a teacher into starting your own business as emotional intelligence for
Yeah. I get that question a lot. Like, what was the main shift, right? What was that moment when
mm,
you realized that that was the right thing? And then you were going to leave everything else behind. But it wasn't like a major shift for me. It was just all the steps along the way. Like, I've always wanted to work with younger kids. I knew that. I always loved to teach and learn. I knew I wanted to be in some kind of an environment like that. But when I was in the teaching field, it didn't feel like a right match for me. Exactly.
mm,
Because there was a
mm-hmm.
big group of kids and I really preferred that one on one. Like I could see the impact that I made on certain children and certain students because I had that relationship. So
Mm,
I think for me, it was a journey of self awareness to get more in touch with, who I really am. What are my unique skill sets and what do I really care about? Like, what's the change that I want to see in the world? And is that position the way to do it? It wasn't for me. And I felt a little bit limited by the education system as well because I felt that kids are so curious and so creative when they arrive to school and they have all this big energy and no one teaches them how to manage that energy so that they can actually achieve what they want to do or to get to know themselves to even know what they want to, do. So it's more about like regimented, results and milestones that they have to meet. And I just feel like every child is so unique, so individual. And it does take time to get to know them, to help them feel safe enough to get to know themselves. And so, with the big class of 20 to 30 kids, being the lead teacher, you have to follow that system. But outside of that, I got to know myself a little bit more. And that was the turning point that I was like, I have more to offer these kids. This is just not the right context for that.
yeah, that sounds really clear. And I can see that you have an inspiration on building relationship with kids. And I grew up in Thailand. I know that the curriculum in Thai school is also according to what you shared to me just now around the system. It's not encouraging creativity as it should be for a kids. So I totally resonate with that, especially the part in Thailand. And what I'm really curious on is you decide from being a teacher and you decide to start your own business as an EQ for Kids coach. Tell me more about that journey of from being a teacher and become a businesswoman. How does it feel? Like,
Oh
what's
my
the
gosh.
journey look like? Yeah.
It's really been a journey and it hasn't been an easy road. I've really had to carve my own way through. And luckily, I feel that I was given those skills early on because I was actually homeschooled. So I was choosing my own path, learning along the way.
Mm.
So I still had that like creative, imaginative. My parents instilled in me, you can do anything that you want, Susanna. Anything you want, you can do it. So I really did believe that, and I'm so grateful for that. I want all kids to feel that, by the way. I want all people to feel that they can do anything that they want. Sorry, I think I got on a little sidetrack. The question was like, what was the question?
Yeah. So the journey between becoming the teacher and decide to be a
Yeah.
businesswoman. And you
Yeah.
mentioned something around, yeah, it has been a ride for sure. Maybe if you could mention one or two specific moment that you find that it gives you a big learning.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think at first it was just about getting out of my own way because the start is really like I remember going through all these feelings like I don't have a website, like I don't have a logo, like am I really the right person to do this? All of this like self-doubt came up. And I think that was the biggest challenge at first. Like just doing it without all the bells and whistles, without all the perfect way, right? Because when you start your own thing, I don't know about most entrepreneurs don't have the support, the backing, right? I mean, unless you do, which is great, but I didn't. I just had to start somewhere. And so, I remember like sitting down and like drawing out the grid for Instagram, like which post is coming next, what color do I want it to be, like planning my own marketing, designing my own logo and creating my own website. I really had to push through a lot of my own self-talk, and those doubts and fears, they still are there, like that imposter syndrome. It doesn't really go away. Throughout the journey, I've been doing it for 6 years now, and now it's like it's still there, but I've gotten a lot better at managing that voice and talking back to it. Yeah, just not letting it get too loud, right? Because it's hard when you don't have like financial backing and you want it to be a really heart-centered business as well. So I never really set out to like have a business. For me it was more like I was following my heart. I just cared really really deeply about parents having the knowledge and tools to support their kids through tough times and for kids to learn the language of emotions. And I just wanted that to be at the core of everything that I do. And I'm really proud, like looking back, that still is the core of everything that I do. But I've had to go back and revisit why a lot to overcome that fear that comes up when you're doing something new. I've had to go back and say, like, why am I really doing this? It's because I really care and I really see the impact in families. And so that keeps me going. But I think at first I just had to start doing it, even though it looked messy. And I really didn't like that because I'm like a recovering perfectionist. I didn't like the mess, but yeah, Ocean, this that I have on my mirror. It's like, don't be afraid to show that you're trying. This is something that I've had to work on a lot just to show up, even if it's not perfect. Like you're still trying. It looks a bit messy. It's not exactly done, but you're doing something. You're doing it slowly at your own pace. Is okay. So I think that
Mm,
was a big lesson at the beginning for me, just to start, just to do it.
yeah.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. So from what I'm hearing from you are the two things that you learn through the journey. First one is I love the part that you share that self-talk is going to be there. And I also start teaching my client around self-talk differently. I coming from coaching background where in the beginning my mindset around self-talk or limiting belief is to try to get rid of it or trying to change it
Right.
And I learned that, yeah, like by what resists persists, right? By resisting the self-talk and having like, oh, I'm going to overcome the self-talk in the beginning as a coach. That's how I got, that was the frame in my mind. And I find the first few years as a coach doing that way of trying to overcome my own self-talk is exhausting. And only recently that I learned to, okay, acknowledge the voice. And as you said, right, we learn to talk back. Okay, I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you, the imposter syndrome, the fear, the doubt that comes up. I really love that part because that's what I start to see that, yeah, the way to manage self-talk is actually listening to it and finding the way to be with it. And I think like
Mhm.
accepting the fact that it's gonna be there. It's actually somehow it's our own friend as well. I don't say it's, but
Right.
I'm not going to say that it's a best friend, right? But it's kind of a voice of a friend that's, coming from the best intention, trying to warn us about something, but it's our choice as well as ourselves, as a mature self right now. Are we going to follow that voice of a friend, or are we going to get certain within us that we're gonna move through the voice and we're gonna keep showing up, right? So that's the wisdom that I got from you, embracing self-talk. Talk back. I love this part.
Talk
Talk back
back.
at it sometime. Yeah.
It's a dialogue. Like, yeah, I hear that. I know where that's coming from. Normally, it's coming from
Yeah.
fear.
Yes.
What are people gonna
Yeah.
think? What if that
Mhm.
happens? What's the worst case
Yeah.
scenario? And it's like our brain trying to protect us, like you said, like a friend. But then it's
Yeah.
like, is that true though? Is that actually helping me? Is it actually
Yeah.
supporting me? Like, challenge that voice. Talk back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't,
So that's the first one that I picked. Yeah.
it's
Go
like
ahead.
listen and validate that part of you that's a little scared, but then
Yeah.
you decide how you act. And I think the action is
Mm.
the biggest show of your character. We all go through those little inner dialogues and struggles, fighting ourselves and like the limits and the beliefs that hold us back. But how are you going to act? How are you going to show up? That's what
Yeah.
really shows who you are, right?
Yeah, and that has been my biggest lesson because I'm coming from the corporate, right? So I come from the background where the system is there, the money to manage the business is not my money, it's the corporate money. If there is the doubt, it's all about showing up for still managing other people money, but when it's come to showing up for myself and becoming entrepreneur, like having that shift, I respect entrepreneur a lot around, keep showing up anyway. There is no one is going to tell you what's right or wrong, or no one is going to tell you you have to do
That's
this
right.
today. Yeah, that's what I really respect in an entrepreneur heart. And that's why I start this podcast because I want to dive deep into what's going on behind the scene on the entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah.
And then the second part that I pick up from what you share in your journey is that when we go into that doubt, that fear, we start talking back to our self-talk, and then you also have your why big enough that you also have to revisit it often, right? In your case, is
Yes.
to empower the kids, empower the parents to understand the emotion of their kids and providing the tools to grow community in a way that we are honoring people as individual. We are honoring creativity of the next generation that is going to become the new leader in our society. You revisit your why when you go through that moment of self-doubt or the inner talk. So yeah, it was amazing wisdom that you share. And
Thank you.
you
Thank you
also
for
share that you have,
summarizing it. Thank you for summarizing it
yeah,
and adding to that.
yeah, yeah. Thank you too. It was so beautiful sharing. And I'm also curious, as you are living in different countries and get exposed to different culture, working with kids in different culture, how do you find that when it's come to emotional for kids? Like, do you find each culture has its own way in teaching emotion, or like is it the same? Like, yeah, I'm just curious because I'm also having like 5 years old nephew, which is so dear to my heart. And
Yeah.
I get curious around kids subject right now.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Definitely culture plays a huge role, and family culture is the biggest role.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think the empowering part for parents, if parents are listening to this, is that you get to choose and decide your own culture. So even if you were raised in a certain way and you said, well, some things, yeah, I like about this. Other things didn't work out so well for me, and I want to do it differently for my kids. I work with a lot of parents who are trying to parent, in a more kind and conscientious way for their kids. So no punishing, no bribing, things like this. But how is kind of missing, right? So they do need a little bit of support and guidance. And so that's what I love to do. But the the culture piece of it is just another piece of the puzzle. And you get to decide what your, internal family culture is going to be like. And I think for parents, it's part of the job to, if you have extended family who's trying to tell you, this is the way you should do it, this is the way that you should do it. I think it's your job as a parent to be so self aware and so self assured that you've studied the child development, that you know how that's going to impact your child, that you can then say back to them, hey, I respect your point of view. And I know that that's the way that you raised me, maybe, but
mm,
this is why I'm doing it this way. And I also need you to respect that. So standing up for your kids, I think, is a big part of it. If your family culture is different than the culture at large. And I think that's a really empowering thing for parents, that you get to choose, you get to decide. Sometimes also overwhelming, right? That you get to choose and get to decide. But in terms of like the theory of how emotions develop, it used to be that we thought that it was a universal experience of different emotions. So, if you're angry, everybody has the same physical sensations. Everybody pretty much, expresses in a similar way that we can see, but it's not actually. We actually construct our internal experience of emotions. So it's now like a constructed theory of emotions. And so what that means is that, we are more empowered than we think in terms of managing our energy. So it's not like, oh, because my mom yelled at me, I'm also going to yell at my kids. It's not so much that, right? It's empowering to know that actually I'm constructing in every single moment this internal experience. And so why not teach kids like what that looks like for them? It's going to be individual. So, I come across parents who are like, how come like I'm so chatty and, talkative and social and my child is so shy? Or maybe they don't speak at all. How come? Well, because they're different. They're really different. Their nervous system is different. The way that they're processing things is different. So I think, I don't know, I'm talking about like the macro level and the micro level of emotional processing. But of course, culture comes into play. Of course, education, of course, parenting styles, all of these things matter. But what really matters is getting to know the self and self-awareness and knowing that that's going to look a little bit different than anyone else. So I think like it's that tuning in to your body, to your nervous system. It's that like getting to know, what do I need when I'm noticing these clues from my body. It's such a journey too, though. I have to say that like this journey is never ending. So it's a lifelong learning. For me, it's really changed my life, my mindset, my relationships in a positive way, to practice that, getting to know my internal world. Of course, the environment impacts that, but I think it's like getting to know yourself is the key.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So we were discussing from how does the culture different in each country, and I like the part that you share. Yeah, definitely environment shape a person, and the most important part is family culture. And what you share is parents always have the choice of how to empower the kids, right? And it's also important to acknowledge that in every individual, kids or adult, we have the self that is different, that is interpreting the world or the situation around us differently,
Yeah.
and everyone going to be different, even though, the same siblings in the house will
Yes.
have different parents, will react to parents differently. There is no same parents for everyone. I think that's kind of the quote that I hear quite often, that the parents will always be different, the s-
Yes.
even the sibling who grow up in the same house as well. And it's important to keep the concept fluid, right? And oftentimes where we are learning on emotion, we want to give system and structure to emotion. And I really like the part that you share, that an emotion is really fluid. Like, we don't really know how anger is going to show up for,
Right.
let's say, for you and for me. We are going to show up with anger differently because how our system or our mindset or things that come going on internally for me and you is different. So for you and me facing the same situation, we both going to react differently, and that is in
Mm.
each of our control, right? So yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the essential part of empowering kids from a really young age. Yeah.
Yeah, that concept of control is something that I do teach kids as well. So it's like, what is outside of your control? Pretty much everything, like,
Mm, true.
time, weather, like other people, a lot of things, right? So why do we worry about it? Why do we focus on that? We really need to zoom in to the only thing that we really
Mm,
can control, which is our reactions. We can't even control
yeah.
our feelings sometimes, right? They come up like, oh, we can notice it, we can name it, we can control our reaction to it, but we can't control when it comes up and how it shows up.
Ah,
So that's a concept that I think is very, very helpful for little ones and for big ones too. So I really like to make those abstract concepts of like letting go of things out of your control. That's a big concept to teach kids. Like, try to make it tangible, understandable, give some like visual aid, and then help the parents to reinforce these concepts at home in the moment. This
yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to shift back to the business part.
yeah.
And I'm wondering, as you are the one who go out to meet a parents and you have to start building your business for 6 years now, how do you manage the time at the back end? Because you are the one who meet with the parents, who coach them, coach the kids, right? And then another side of you will have to split that mind to plan the business for the long term. Like, what's the tips in managing time?
Yeah, it's a really important question. And for me, because I'm such like a creative, kind of energetic, like I go with the flow a lot of times. But in business, you also need to be really structured. So I don't think of it so I'm balancing both sides of myself. The business side, I've had to learn. It's a skill set. I've taken courses. I've learned the marketing, messaging, and the sales and all of this stuff that it's not like I'm excited about it, but it's important. I know that. So I learned that it's a skill. I can improve in this area. But then, like, switching gears between those two that's tough. And I wouldn't even call that time management. I would call that energy management.
Mm,
You know, that's
yeah.
more about, okay, what state am I in today? And this is also emotional intelligence, right? Like, am I in the place where I'm feeling more creative? Okay, great. Then I can work on that project that I've been meaning to and I can draw it out. Or am I really, that get things done kind of day? Then I would focus more on the admin side of things and the logistics side of things. But it really is, for me, it's energy management more than time management. A little tip that I can give though is to block off your calendar for different projects. So if you have like a creative project that you're doing, decide which days you're going to do that. And then on that day, check in with your energy. Am I in the mode to get into 2 hours of just like flow and design and draw? Or do I want to do more admin? But blocking off your time,
Mm,
right? And then deciding which energy you're tapping into, I think has been the most effective thing for me to stay diligent.
yeah.
But yeah, it's other days though, you might need to fully rest. And that's also productive. Like, I think, especially for women with our hormonal cycles and the seasons that we go through every month, it's important to know yourself enough to know, okay, like, I'm going to have to rest today. And then tomorrow, I'm really going to get at it, and just setting yourself up for that energy shift. So I think for me, it's more about shifting between those different modes.
I like the tips that you give around blocking the time and the perspective on it's not only the time management. The time is the thing that you can block, but what's more important is what's energy that you bring in behind every task that you plan to do,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, and then I know because I know you, I got from the questionnaire that your business is going through a big transition right now. Yeah. Would it
Mhm.
be okay to talk a little bit more about that? Like what's bringing you to make this big change? Because I know your business has been well recognized in this space for 6 years. You has been the top person that people will talk about when it's come to emotional intelligence for kids. And what give you this little nudge to for the business that is doing well to give this a change?
Well, I haven't really talked about this one before. So I'm a little bit shy
Mm,
and nervous to say because, I was just talking about energy management. Okay, last year, I was not so good at managing my energy because I had been through so many different things that year, was in multiple car accidents and I had concussions and I had some physical health issues. And I reached a point of severe burnout because I was trying to do things the same. And I, as a person, was changing and needed to really reset and heal a little bit my nervous system, my relationship to my work. And I'm just being really honest. So I went through a period of a couple months where it was just really hard to function. Honestly, I got to a point where I was so burnt out because I was pushing myself a little bit too much through the physical pain to keep things going. And I realized that I needed to take time off. So I did. I took a month. I went back to the US. I let my loved ones shower me with love and all the things that I needed to heal a little bit and just rest and spend time in nature. And then now I'm really transitioning things. I knew that the way that I had been doing things was not scalable. Like I could not continue to drive to families' homes and do the 2 hours of coaching and then come home and send the follow up emails and like do all the admin side of it. Right. I could not continue that. And so I had noticed these things that needed to change over time, but I wasn't in a physical or mental place to do that. And so I just had to really accept the reality of that. And now I'm really excited because I feel rejuvenated and I feel like, okay, I've listened to myself. I've accepted that I was there. It's hard to even admit that I was there. I'm the one here talking about energy management. Shouldn't I know how to do that? It's a little bit confronting. But at the same time, I think it's important to talk about it because after 5 years, I've been doing this all on my own. I had no financial backing. I'm really proud of myself for not giving up. I just took time off and I needed that. And sometimes we do. We need a reset. So I am going through a transition with EQ for Kids. I'm redesigning some of my packages to support my well being, honestly, to support the person that I am behind the business that I've created. I'm so happy that I've gotten to the point where people recognize me and they know the brand, but at the same time, what about the person behind it? And I think that was a big learning for me this last year. And so I've come back with some renewed energy and I'm planning out some kids group classes. So moving away a little bit from the in-person, one-on-one coaching in the home to more community and group classes. And so I'm really excited to see how it's going to work out. But right now, I've been kind of in the creative planning stages of it. And so maybe by the time the podcast is released, I will have rolled those new programs out. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, wow. First of all, thank you so much for sharing. And as you share to me, I respect you even more because, as a heart center business, I think that's how most people go through the
Yeah.
transition in the business is show up in in our body, right? It show up in our energy. And as a heart center person, as you like I know that I will feel a lot when it's time to change. It's actually going to feel in my body first before
Yeah.
I see it, the change in my business. And what I respect you is that you are actually walking your talk about first. What I'm hearing from you is that you don't afraid to share this part out. You mentioned that yeah, you feel nervous to share about it, and then you share it to me anyway. Yeah, that's I respect you a lot, and it's just so interesting. Like just right before I click to join this call with you, there is this thing that I've been contemplating about. Like when we talk about strong woman, I think the perception of strong woman is not someone who are able to manage everything. As I'm in this journey myself, I think strong woman is the one who are not afraid to be vulnerable, is the one who are not afraid to talk through the part and own it, right? Like the part that we
Yeah.
go through, the the happy part is easy to talk about, but it's so hard to talk about the part where we are in the middle of the mess. And what you just shared to me, make me respect you a lot more. That you walk the talk, or you talk about emotion, and you are not using the concept and theory, but you are living through your experience. And I can see that this change is going to be exciting because right now you are serving yourself and you are serving other people from the space where you feel renewed, you feel rejuvenate from the space that you give to yourself. So that's really beautiful. And I'm so honored that you share this in the show with me.
Thank you so much, Juan. I think, it's your space that you create too that makes me feel safe to share. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's a part of the journey. It's a part of getting to know myself and meeting myself where I'm at. It's like I realized I needed to say no more and have more boundaries. And I think that's something that a lot of, well, people struggle with, but especially women, in business. It's like we should just say yes to everything and we need to hustle, hustle and work harder. And I'm like, that doesn't sit well with me. I want to go at my own pace. I want to be soft sometimes. And then I know that I'm strong too, and I'm resilient. And I think it's embracing all those sides of yourself and making so much space for navigating all of that. We hold so many different parts of ourselves. And I just think, we don't realize that when we look at someone else, that person has so many different layers. They might not even know it, and it's just that journey. I'm so thankful actually that I've gone down this path, even though it's not the easy one. It's like I'm so thankful because it's like helped me understand people more and understand myself more and go through this journey of constant self-discovery and like, yeah, I'm really, really grateful for it. And I'm grateful for this space that you actually provide for, entrepreneurs to talk about things, to talk about the real stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I feel honored every time that I meet you, that we get to chat. I don't know how future gonna bring for both of us, but it has been amazing to connect with you so far, even though it's such a short time. It's only several months that we know each
Yeah.
other. But I feel like because I love to be around with people who walk the talk, who don't afraid to be vulnerable, then that make me feel safe actually. I think because right now in the world where it's easier to try to get it all together. Like as a strong woman myself, that's how I mostly live my life. And I just realized, oh, if I keep being strong, then I don't have space for people to come to get to know me. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you
So can
definitely
I?
you live it, you embody it. Like I know that about you. That's why people feel
Yeah,
comfortable around you too. I think that's
yeah. Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you for your encouraging. And yeah, so if people are in the middle of the mess, or if people are thinking about transition and then in that tuck and torn in between, what will be your words of wisdom?
Do it through the mess and always, and I think I said this before, always come back to your purpose. Like the reason why you're doing it is so much bigger than you. It's not
Mm,
personal. It's something that everybody has to go through. If they want to achieve something that's bigger than them, that hasn't been done yet, they're creating their own path. It's bigger than you. So you are the tool or the person who's making this happen, but you're not the only one who has this. It's about your purpose. It's not about being perfect. It's not about doing it a
Mm,
certain way. It's like always coming back to the reason why you care, and knowing that that impact is so much greater than you also helps you take yourself out of it a little bit and detach a little bit from the results. So, put in the effort. Doesn't matter if it looks messy right now, because actually the mess is like, that's what has to happen for creative juices to flow, right? You have to be like really embracing that like messy middle part
mm,
and then trust that those results will come, but don't focus on them, That's not the point.
yeah. 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 Wow. That's such a deep wisdom that your bigger purpose is nothing personal. It's it's the purpose. And I also have to remind myself every day that the reason that I'm showing up for my business, and if I feel like um there is this inner voice comes up again, I also have to remind myself it's all about the purpose. It's all about serving people. And
Yeah.
I really like the part that don't forget to remind yourself that you are doing this because you care. And this is part of the process of building heart center business, right? This
Yeah.
is the process of serving more people. Like to serve more people, that means you have to grow your business. Otherwise, people will not be able to find you. I think
Yeah.
I know for myself that I was holding myself back for several years because I make it too personal about me. And that's why I so resonate with what you share around. Yeah, don't make your purpose too personal.
Mm.
It's all about supporting people and go for the real reason behind why you are doing this in the first place.
Right. Right. I like what you said
Yeah,
about like growth and scalability for your business is that's also not about you or even the business.
yeah,
That's about reaching more
yeah,
people. That's about creating the impact, that you really are on this journey to create. So it's like that gives me a lot of, oomph behind why I'm in this transition phase and to get through this messy part, you know? I know it's going to be a little bit messy and I've got all my notes out and I've got them all scattered and I'm putting together pieces of the puzzle. I've kind of learned to love that process. It's kind of
yeah,
fun,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So I have a question because you share that your big first transition is from being a teacher to do a more intimate coaching container. And now your second transition is to from the business that serving one-on-one to a scalable business to reach out to more people through groups and different programs that is lining up.
Mhm.
So looking back, how do you find like what's the difference between these two transition, the first one and the second one? Do you
That's a
feel the
great question.
same or does it feel different? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I've always been about the relationship. And so at the first, I honestly thought I was going to be coaching kids. Like that was it, EQ for Kids. And then I realized, oh my gosh, like the key to unlocking these life skills are parents, actually. So then I focused more on
Mm,
like parent coaching, parents and kids together, created all these programs for these skills to be taught early on. But then the second transition is still about relationships, but it's about more like a supportive community coming together. So, in isolation, you can do a lot with the one on one coaching. You can go a bit deeper into the individual needs. But in a supportive space where there's other people who are also going through it, you realize you're not alone
mm,
and other people are having these same questions and the same lessons to learn about themselves. And so, and doing it together is actually more powerful in certain ways. So I think that's a big difference is that, it's still about relationships, but whether it's one-on-one or group, it's like I'm excited because I've started this parent community called Parent Connect and it'll be a year in October. And we've grown, just from a couple of parents getting together over coffee, chatting about the struggles and the real raw stuff to now we have more than 100 parents in our group and we have like 400 followers on Instagram. So no, we're growing and we're trying to figure out how to maintain that really supportive and safe space for people to open up and feel comfortable being vulnerable. So we have a lot of strong women in that group and we're trying to invite also dads, moms and dads into that parent community. So that's one big shift that I did about a year ago. And then this next one will be for kids. So I'm excited because I'm going to start introducing like kids group classes on different topics like managing anger and making friends with fear and being a kind friend, things like that, boosting confidence. Yeah. So I'm really excited. I think I'll start that in the new school year. So that's the second big shift is like that. It's really powerful when other people are there, and they're all talking about this same concept and you just learn from one another. I love being in that space because I learn so much from just hearing the parents share their stories. I mean, yeah, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this new kind of community centered space.
Yeah. And as a businesswoman behind the shift, do you find that the second shift different than the first one? Like, is the period of going through the messy middle in between, is it different than when you change from being teacher to doing coaching?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think I've grown a lot as a person too. So I'm a recovering people pleaser. I
Mm,
think at first I was trying to make everybody happy. I was
mm-hmm.
like, yeah, and it was more about me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be this EQ coach maybe. And like people are going to, I don't know. I think I made it more about myself and like pleasing other people. And it's like, ugh, I don't want to do that. With this second shift, I'm more like, I want to actually learn and grow in this area. And I want to create this space where people can come together. And, this is also learning for me through this process, right? It's not just creating space for others. It's also like, wow, this is a great journey for me too. So I also want to um, empower people to just know that like they're not alone and we're all going through this journey together. Yeah, I don't want to be a people pleaser or a perfectionist anymore. I'm shedding those layers little by little because that is how there's a reason why I had those patterns. And I've had to do a lot of
Yeah.
healing, a lot of like inner child work, a lot of reparenting myself. And so
Mm.
I think that's, even though I don't have my own kids, I've been really lucky to work with hundreds of families. And I've been really lucky that this journey of developing EQ for Kids and Parent Connect has also been for me personally such a healing journey.
Yeah, that's a really powerful sharing. And thank you again for being authentic around your journey. Like I personally learned a lot. I'm sure the listener who get to listen to your episode gonna learn a lot too. So from what I'm hearing from you is that the first start when you start EQ for Kids, it's more about who I am. I am an EQ for Kids. And then as the times go by, the mission statement. I don't know if that's the word right now, but that's the word that comes up. It's like your mission change to be instead of who I am for other people, it's more like what I want to create. Like I want
Yeah.
to create community, I want to create impact. And I really believe in the healthy world is all about people get to express themselves through their own creation and it can be through any form, right? And as an entrepreneur, for sure, the creation is like behind the business that, for example, what you build right now, the community that you build, and yeah, it's such beautiful space to tap into that energy to express and create. And I really like the growth journey that you shared today of dropping the part of thinking about who I am to other people, but shifting the mindset towards what I am creating. So I think that's really powerful wisdom right there.
Mm. Yeah. I like the way that you said that
Yeah,
too. Yeah. It's like an ego
yeah.
death of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, wow. It's so much fun chatting with you, Susanna. I mean, I can chat with you for another hour. There are so many things that I want to, interview you. Perhaps if this show evolved to a different direction, then I can host you again.
Sure.
Today, my focus is more on the businesswoman who have this skill and capability to grow and scale her business to the next level and how you go through different transition, different messy middle in between. And as a person who wows behind emotional intelligence as yourself, you get to learn through the process of connecting with your emotion in this process and a lot of wisdom that you share in this show that I'm sure people who listen to this gonna get a lot out of this. So if people who listening to this show want to follow you or joining Parents Connect community, can you share more? How can people find you?
Sure. So we are on all social media platforms, right? So EQ4Kidz is with a Z. Excuse me. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find us on all those social media platforms. And EQforKidz.co. I have some free resources there. And I also do free consultations, but not for much longer. So keep an eye out because I'm going to start to shift, right? Things are going to start to change at the end of this year. So if you want to sign up for a free consultation, that's 1 hour with me. I will come to your home or we can have it online. I'll meet your kid. We'll do some assessments and I can do like a customized program for your family. And then also look out for kids group classes coming up with EQ4Kidz. And for the Parent Connect community, that is the handle on Instagram. So Parent Connect community, it's all kind of, this community is, we meet twice per month. And sometimes 3 times. We have some special events like play dates and some collaborations coming up. And sometimes we do some parent workshops as well. But the meetups themselves, the monthly meetups, are just really a pure and beautiful, authentic sharing where parents just get to reflect on their journey and learn from one another. And it's really, really impactful. Parents always leave feeling a little bit lighter, and seen and heard. And that's what that space is all about. So yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all of those, Parent Connect and EQ4Kidz. I hope to see you
Yay.
there.
Yeah. So to all the audience, go follow EQ4Kidz with the zebra at the end and Parents Connect community. And thank you, Susanna, for taking your time to be here, for sharing your wisdom, sharing your journey so openly. It's so beautiful to have you here.
I really appreciate this one. This was such a powerful, even like reflection for me to go through at this time when I'm going through such a big shift. So thank you so much. And I'll see you again soon. We'll continue the conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Behind the scene, we will keep connecting. But for now, have a nice day, Susanna.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
I would love
Bye.
to connect with you. And it would also mean a lot to me if you could share it with a friend or leave a review on the episode. A little bit about me. I'm a trauma-informed life coach with 16 years of experience in the corporate world and 8 years as a coach. I have been helping business owners and executives tap into real confidence and make clearer decisions. And if you are in the season of change and want a personal light touch, feel free to reach out about my one-on-one coaching program. I'm always happy to connect with you. And come back for a new episode next week. And until then, keep being kind to yourself.